In this episode of the Exploring Information Security podcast, how to create a cybersecurity podcast.
Computers now have primary control of critical functions.
Houston, recommend vector transfer.
Your go for APU shutdown on time.
Roger, go for deploy.
Nice to be in orbit.
Welcome to the Exploring Information Security podcast, where you will learn, explore, and grow your security mindset. I am your host, Timothy D. Block, and in this episode, we will be exploring how to create a cybersecurity podcast. With me to do that is Anushree Vaidya. She was a speaker at ShowMeCon. She is also a senior cybersecurity analyst. So this is a bit of a... We're flipping this one on its head. So this is, when I went to ShowMeCon, this is the only podcast I really recorded there. I had some other ideas. They didn't really pan out. But this is one that Anushree and I had talked about. She had come on early part of this year to talk about gamifying incident response playbook creation, which is what one of her talks were at ShowMeCon. So if you recognize the name, and she's been on before, but she hit me up afterwards and was asking me questions, and I said, hey, this might actually be a pretty good podcast because the people might want to hear it. You can kind of get into how it is to create a podcast, and then she can, I can show her equipment while we're there, all that kind of stuff, and talk through it. So that's what this is this is an episode. We're sitting at the ExploreSec booth at ShowMeCon and just having a conversation about how to create a cybersecurity podcast. So you can hear me talking a lot more, which may or may not be a good thing. But Anushree, she was very impressive. She had a lot of energy. She's one of those new up-and-comers within the cybersecurity field that you're going to hear about doing a variety of different things, including, I believe she is starting up a podcast. But I also want to apologize for the long delay. I am re-releasing old episodes to keep stuff going. I kind of just got to the point this summer where I kind of needed a little bit of a break, and I was like, well, hey, one of the things my like Apple Podcast and other feeds don't do is they don't keep more than 100 episodes, just based on how my feed is set up with Squarespace. And so I was like, well, places like YouTube are constantly collecting. There's some really good stuff from the past that I wanted to re-release to kind of capture. Metrics weren't out at that time either, so I'm getting some insight into what people think. That was kind of the point of the podcast too. It's a timeless type of content, so you can listen to it at any point. So even if you see the re-release category, I would highly recommend listening to it, especially if you're interested, because there's some really great content. Some of the format will be a little bit different too, so that's always fun to listen to. But I think when I need a break or I need some opportunity to kind of catch up on some stuff, I still do a full-time job. I've got a family and some other stuff. I'm kind of as I've talked before, kind of taking a little bit of a step back, making sure I don't get burnt out, and so I can continue to grow the podcast and grow the ExploreSec community. I need to have some self-care there, so that's why. But last week we had B-Side St. Louis. We're doing a live recording. I've got 2 other ones coming out very soon, where I was like, hey, maybe I need to have some career podcast discussions so you can hear about people as they're coming up through their career, because a lot of the people I've networked with have, we kind of all started out as individual contributors, and some of them have just taken off and gone into directors and VP roles and other stuff in the community. So I'm looking to see if some of the career stuff is going to be some good content for folks. But that's kind of insights on what's coming. As always, give me feedback, timothy.dblock@exploresec.com. Show notes will be found there as well at exploresec.com/EIS. And with that, let's get right into it. Yeah. So we're recording now. So I don't know where you want to start. If you had questions prepared.
I do, actually.
Okay.
And I can pull it up on my phone.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to get started with what was your key motivator? Because I think everybody knows a lot about podcasts. They hear it, consume it, people like me who love it as a format. But what got you actually to say like, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to start my own podcast show? Like, what was the key tipping point for you?
I like podcasts, so I listened to like Paul's Security Weekly for a long time. I still listen to Risky Business because it's like a great way to keep my thumb on the pulse of what's going on within the cybersecurity field. They do a really great job with that. I think what I wanted to do was use it as an exercise to like dive into different topics that I cared about, and I also wanted to create more timeless content. So I'm not doing a news segment that then goes stale like a month or two later, right? This is stuff that you can listen to years from now, and actually I'm re-releasing a lot of it. I did podcasting for a blog, a Houston Astros blog, so I did sports podcasting before then. Because I have a media arts degree. I was thinking about switching into media arts out of IT, but it's so competitive within that field that, and a family started at that point. So I was like, well, the IT and cybersecurity route's kind of the way to go. And at one point, like, I just kind of got tired of doing the Houston Astros stuff. And really what I ended up thinking was, well, I can apply this to my cybersecurity job. It's a great way to network with people. What I found from the Houston Astros podcast was that people are very approachable, even in like this big sports field where you're like, oh, well, that person would never talk to me or reach out to me. I had 2 general managers from baseball following me at one point on Twitter.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of that was because I was creating this content. I talked to, you could DM them. I had people on from the organization. I had players on that eventually made it to the major league level. So I was like, well, if I can do this here as like more of like a hobby thing, I can apply this to cybersecurity. And I got in 2012. Kind of really made, and I was doing the sports stuff still, but I really flipped in 2015. I was like, well, this might actually allow me to kind of enhance, my networking opportunity. And it has. I've been able to meet and reach out to people. Not everybody, reaches, will respond, but a majority of people will do it. And it's just, I guess, just giving, I think at heart, and this is a purpose I've recently discovered, is I'm a teacher, right? My dad was a preacher. I like teaching other people. That's why I speak as well, too. I like learning new things. So this was an opportunity for me to get on and just ask people questions, and the questions that I want to ask.
Yep, that is... honestly, like, it's not just an answer, but it has a little bit of like motivation packed in it for me, who's thinking about starting their own podcast, because kind of similar to what you said, I too have things that I truly feel passionate about, like, insecurity and even outside of it, but I just don't I didn't have that tipping point until, I guess, talking to you and doing that podcast, where I was like, yeah, you know what, I do like talking, but I just don't know how to get started. So the very first how that I'm going to ask you, which kind of pivots me into my next question, is what exactly, like, do you need a budget for starting a podcast? What are the, kind of logistics of getting something off the ground?
Yeah, so I'm a bit of I like to MacGyver stuff together, so I'm not going to go, you can go buy mixer boards and other stuff. We are recording on, this is probably my most expensive thing, but I do this just for in person, which is an H4n Zoom. I want to say I spent like $400. There's newer versions now on this, but this was the way, because you can see I can do these XLR cables, right? We're using some, which I got here, by the way. Dave Chronister actually bought these at ShowMeCon because we did recording up in his room, and we wanted to have some really good sound. And he bought them because he was going to use them. He does musicians type stuff, but I found out the next year that he had them and he hadn't really pulled them out. I was like, well, I'll give you money. I'll pay you like what the cost is for them. And so now this has become more my mobile thing. This is again a bit of an extravagant setup. These microphones each are about $250. So this whole in-person setup is about $1,000. You don't need to do that if you're just getting started. What you need to do is buy one of these, which is an Audio Technica 2100 microphone. So this is like, that gets you like 7 out of 10 quality, and it's about $70-$80. And so if you look on the back there too, like it's got an XLR cable.
Which you can
too.
connect. Okay.
But then now it's got the newer ones have USB-C. I had an old one. I don't know if I have it with me, but it had it's USB. But now they're doing like USB-C, and this one is what what we recorded when I was on when we did the previous recording
the previous
about your
one.
talk. Yeah. So this is all you need really, and then you'll get the cable and everything with it. A stand, you can probably buy it for like $20. It'll come with a really dinky stand, but it often falls over. So I bought something that like a desk stand that you'd use for just pretty much putting on a microphone. I don't even use these really, but you could use something like this, right? You could just try to figure that out. So it's like $20-$40. So I mean, you're talking about $120 for a decent microphone. Honestly, too, laptop mics have gotten so much better. I've seen people recording on phones, right? So you could even just start using your own phone because these newer things have really good quality for this stuff. And so you could just even start there. And I don't have that set up because I've had this, but then you just need some sort of, we used Google Meet. And I record all my audio through that. I record all my audio through Google Meet, right? So it's got a record, it's got a transcript. That's really all you need because, again, I'm trying to do it lowest effort possible because I still have other stuff I'm doing. I have a family, I got a day job, right? So I try to make things. And then the other thing you really need is like Audacity, right? Because that's where
Audacity, okay.
And that's free. This is open source. This is where you can pay for other stuff, right? Adobe has a version that you can pay for. It's got a different thing, but you get started with this, right? And even let me see. I had the microphone plugged in, but I got to rescan the audio devices, and I'm going to switch it to. Recording device. We'll just do the MacBook Pro. So I just hit record and then there. But I'm recording right now. So it's recording on the microphone right now. So if you're in person or something, that's all you really need is this. Or really, what I do with this is I record that Google Meet. Download the MP4 file. There's a plugin for this, so you can do MP4 conversion. So it'll take the audio out of the video, and then you can just edit from Audacity. With just the audio.
Oh, okay, interesting. I have done a little bit of editing, but I'm not really, not had a lot of hands-on experience. So, given that you mentioned Audacity, can you walk me through, how much effort or how much time do you need to spend with a tool like that to learn, how to do the editing? What if you cut too much and what is the scope for having those mistakes and how to correct them for someone who doesn't have experience with that?
Yeah. So as far as editing goes, I'm trying to think about where to start because there's a couple different things. I will say if you're just starting out, like the first time I did my first episode, it was a 3-hour long process because I was figuring it all out. But now I get it down to I record, I probably take 20 minutes editing, and then I'm, with my format, I don't do the intro with it. I used to do the intro with that, so I'd have all that in there, but now I'd go in after recording the session and then do all my intro stuff. I used to have an outro too, but I stopped doing the outro because I was like, what? No one wants, if I do everything at the front, there's no reason to do it at the back. And so now I take, essentially it's going to take a little bit of time to learn the tools, figure out how to do it. What Audacity really does is, and on here, so what I do now is I have the Google Meet, and that's the recording thing. I start this on a separate microphone because I don't care about this audio, but what I care about is the timing of it. So, because what you can do with this stuff is hit that's on Windows, you can hit Control M. I think it's, So you can see I hit Control period, and it created a little marker. You can write in edit here, right? Or you can put in some sort of I like to go through and take out coughs and other stuff that people have because I want quality that people can listen to. So as we're recording, I will, if you lose a thought, right? I want to make my people sound smart that come on, or have some sort of interruption like a dog barking. Sometimes I might leave it in just because it's funny, but other times I just mark it. So what I do is I mark it, and then throughout, and then I leave myself little notes, or I just leave a mark just to know to go back to actually go edit that little bit, and I'll often figure out what it was, whether it was a cough or. Oftentimes when you're recording online, you can interrupt people a lot because the connection might be delayed, or you're just not in person. You and I have a lot more facial cues, things like that. So I used to interrupt people a lot more when I wasn't even on video. Now I get on video so it's a little bit easier and I don't have to edit as much.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Quick question. When you're doing, for example, the Google Meet that we did, you keep Audacity running while we're talking and then make those notes?
Yeah.
And then edit it, and you still get the MP4 from Google Meet and use that too?
Yep.
So how does the both work?
So
which one would be the final product?
Yeah. So what I do there is, so again, I'm just using this for timing. So I don't care about the quality of this mic. What I'll then, maybe I have one. Let me see. Let's see if we can open one. I don't know if I have one on my computer. I don't see an MP3 or an MP4. Oh, there we go. How to participate with, So this is an example of, I ripped this down. I'm opening now the MP4 file, so you can see it's importing, FFmpeg compatible files, right? So what I do then is I only edit in mono, or I change it from split stereo to mono.
Okay.
And that and what that does is it keeps it so it's still in one ear. So stereo can be two ears, and if you cut it wrong or edit that wrong, if I split the track into stereo, then all the audio comes out like one side, so like the right ear or something.
Okay.
Which is what I've seen other podcasters do. But I do that, and then all I have to do is copy this, Control C, and then, I mean, like you were talking about, like backing out edits and other stuff. If you take too much stuff out, you can always just control it. And then, so now I've got it loaded in here. I don't know what I hit something. Let's see. Yeah, I think I went really, really low with that. So you can see here, and then usually I have it line up. So you have to line this up. So say that, this is like the end or something. I listen to this, then try to listen to this, and I just line it up. And then once I've got it lined up, I delete that. And now I have all my edits on the actual audio that I can then go in and make adjustments. And the biggest tip I give people is you have to start backwards. Because if I edit at the front, my markers have now moved because you've taken stuff out, so the audio's moved. So you actually have to. That was one of my first mistakes. Was I edited at the start and then wait, everything's off. So you want to start at the back end. So you go to the end of the audio and then you edit it and work your way kind of backwards.
See, that's the merit in doing this now.
Yeah.
Because you're learning from someone who has done that.
Yeah.
So that's really helpful because, that would be, it's like just natural. You'll be starting to read from the very first page and not the last one. It's like very human nature. So when you bring out those like technical pointers of how to not, do the same mistake, that really helps someone who's starting it for the first time.
Yeah.
So,
and what I would always recommend too is if you're starting out, I would listen to the full episode until you feel comfortable. Like, because that's what I first did, was I actually listened to the full episode, because there might be, so there's a lot of techniques I've learned from, Mike. So if I do this, right? Yeah, if I'm too close, or I've had my beard rubbing up against it before, that has caused it.
Does that make a sound, really?
Yeah. I've had beard come through on like a microphone or something. I didn't notice it until I listened to it all. Yeah, and you want to try to, sometimes you can't take it out, sometimes other stuff. But yeah, like for example, this one, and even on this, right, the H4n, it has markers on it. I don't do it because I want to go back and listen to make sure that I can cut out maybe some smaller point or some space, between us talking, or if someone just screamed all of a sudden or something. I try to reduce some of that kind of stuff. You can get into a lot of other stuff. Like I said, I try to just low effort, try to get it there, try to have the quality good, and especially at the front end. But that's where listening in, you're going to be like, oh, I'm doing this when at this point that I didn't even notice was on there, right? So, for example, this has been really loud, this badge. This can get picked up in, here, if you want to, just listen to that. So I'm listening to that right now. But you can hear, that's the actual recording. Is right there. So you can actually you can hear all the people around us, right? I honestly don't know how well this is going to come out, but I think we are close enough, and we that it's just more background noise, which can be a nice thing to have, especially at a conference like this.
Yeah.
So,
but if you were to remove the background noise, is it possible to do it through editing?
It can, but I don't do it. I just try to find the quiet spots. Like I said, we might go into, we could have gone into the speaker's room and probably done it, which is away from stuff. But I kind of like the idea of doing it out in the open. Because again, we're at a conference, we're sitting together.
It gives the vibe.
It can give a big background noise. It can give an ambiance to it, right? So I do that every once in a while, especially because I'm recording on this. And it's a different quality than when we record on mine. So.
Okay. The next question is there any difference between the way a video podcast is viewed
Oh, yeah.
versus audio. Like, what is the key difference? I want you, the first timer, like, what are the key things that they need to understand before they choose one over the other?
Yeah, I mean, you're doubling what you do when you do video. And a lot of it, again, even more so when I talk about etiquette around talking to the mic. So we have on here, and maybe I'll do an example here if you want to listen in.
Sure.
So these are, what I bought is microphone covers. These are like to stop wind.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of podcasters will have like pop filters. So you've probably seen like the circle thing.
Oh, the circle thing.
They attach to it. I'm just cheap, and I just went around it and said this will do it. Because what happens is when you say P's or S's, it can really be sharp when you hear it. So for example, you hear, pickle cotton candy, right? It doesn't sound as bad. But if I take this off and do pickle cotton candy, you can tell like the aggressiveness of it is a little bit more, right? And it definitely is a different thing. So, that's why I put that on there. And now, pickle cotton candy, right? It's much softer. Yeah. So that's just, and that's why there's pop filters, right? Is they're trying to get rid of some of those pop and some of those hard sounds. With video, you're talking now about you're on video, and the video, being on video, can also, if you edit, you're going to end up being like Max from the 1980s Pepsi commercials, so, which can be done. I've done it before. I do a live recording. Like a lot of times, like I've started doing some live recordings just to get into the video, but you then have to worry about lighting, and you do a green screen, how do you have it set up? And oftentimes you can just do it in like Google Meet, but how much production value do you want to have, like an intro? Do you want to have music with it? Do you want to have, all this different stuff as far as like video editing goes? And now you've got to get some video editing software, and I don't have Macs usually have some pretty good stuff. It can be a bit frustrating, but then again you're editing it a little bit differently as well too. So not to say you can't do it, and again I think I could streamline it. I'm kind of playing around with it right now to where I try to make the editing not as much, but it's going to be more obvious if there's a pause, or you also have to pay it. Once you start getting on video and recording it, you need to be paying attention to like, are you like a lot of people told me I touch my beard. I like to play with my beard a lot, which on video means I might start doing this, or you might start doing facial things, or just weird things, or picking your nose that you don't even realize, or whatever it is. You've got to be conscious now, like, and scratching, right? You scratch. If you need to take a sip of water, you got to now cut off your mic, and all that kind of stuff, right? Okay. So it just adds another level, and there's just certain etiquette you have to learn, which is not saying you can't do it.
Okay, so for now, I would say that it would make more sense for someone to start with audio, get with editing with the Audacity, check the equipment, maybe just start with just doing it on your laptop and seeing how it goes.
I would before you invest a ton of money, because some of these microphones end up being $400,000, $500,000 microphones, and like I said, that's why I bought the ATR 20, because it's $70-$80, and I have two of them now. And that was just a low bar for me to get into. And because the other thing is that what they say is if you get to 7 episodes, you have a better chance of getting to 100. Like a statistical study was done. And,
interesting.
And if you do 7, then you'll more likely have a chance to get to 100. You might do 1 or 2 and be like, this isn't for me, because it does add time. It does add things that you got to think of the topic, or have a guest on, or and that's the other thing too, is that you're scheduling behind stuff. So you really just need to understand.
That makes sense.
What's your effort level and what you're willing to put into it, and I've just kind of stuck with it. I've always kind of enjoyed it. Not everybody is. I also think too, like I said, your phone could be just a really great starting point, and even for video. Like they have stands now for phones.
And they even have those ring lights I've seen a lot of people use just to get the lighting right, and like especially if you're doing the video kind. There are people who are really particular about all of those things, especially when they see like TikTokers do it and stuff like that. They pick up those things, and I think that the bar in terms of those kind of content creation has lowered. But if you want to do something like at this level, you probably need to have you won't be doing like audio. It's a little longer format, so you need something more sustaining for you, so that you can edit it and stuff like that. So definitely.
And I'll say too, with like the like I said, with the lighting is a huge thing, because you can look like a villain, right? And that might put people off. So this is where my media arts degree actually kicks in, is, when you watch some of these movies, if someone has a dark face or like half their face is like, and these are all intentional things that are done. Like
absolutely.
people on,
for the visual
on the
effect
set
of it.
well, then they're trying to create some sort of emotion. So that's why I'm saying with video, you have to be very careful and mindful of how you're portraying yourself. And if you're coming off as, your face is almost entirely dark except for like one thing, then you might come off as someone that we can't trust, right? And that's kind of the shadows within the faces that you see in movies. I mean, you can watch these movies now. The hero is always in this they always have I never say an aura, but their light is visible. Like they have no shadows on the face, and so that's what those lights do. Is they get rid of all the shadows on your face and kind of highlight you, and that's why a lot of people use that kind of stuff. So
yeah, absolutely. Now the next question that I had was, how do you start off with the branding? So like what is the first okay, you've recorded your first I think maybe even before you record it, when you reach out to someone like a potential guest, you'll have to say that, hey, I'm starting this. You need to have a name, maybe a small logo. Say like where is it going to be like hosted? Is it Spotify or somewhere else? Like how do you get that started?
So what you want to do is. Obviously, I think you're right. Start with the name, and you need to Google that name because someone else might already use it, or it might be associated with something.
Yeah.
So I searched for Exploring Information Security. It's nothing was around. Again, it kind of hit the theme of what I wanted to do was just kind of explore a variety of different topics. You got to kind of make it fit to what you're trying to do. You've got to kind of think through, like you said, the brand and what are you looking to accomplish? What's your goal? So it's almost like trying to think about what's your business plan, or what's the objective of the podcast? Why is it here? And once you have that, then you can do the branding. You will definitely want to do some sort of logo or podcast art that. Like I started with just whatever the requirements were for Apple Podcasts because they have like a particular logo and like size and everything. So you got to design that. I have Photoshop. Media arts. I did Photoshop in school too, so I was able to kind of create my own logo the way it is. Like if you can find someone that that would be willing to do it, that can be a good thing too. I guess you got to kind of think clean, but also what are you looking to get out of it? But I think you can keep it simple as well too. As far as like reaching out to people, once you have all that, you just reach out to people. Hey, I'm doing this podcast. Here's what we're doing. I'd love to talk to you about this, right? I wouldn't even say that you're starting it up. I would just reach out and say, hey, I'm doing this podcast. I'd love to have you on as a guest, right? Mm-hmm. And then just kind of going from there.
Would they be pissed if they ask about like who was before this? Can you send me a link? No, this is the very first one.
If they ask for more information, oftentimes too, I also tell people, I'm like, here's the link to my website if you want to see what it. So it's actually legitimate, that kind of stuff because people get all this, phishing emails nowadays.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't worry about people. A lot of people. Might not respond unless you start building up the brand, but people will respond because honestly they love talking and they love talking about their passion or their ideas or whatever they want to do. So right. I think,
Yep, that's solid. And I think my last question would be, so once you get it started, a couple of episodes. Would it be okay to kind of change, the duration? Like, say like some conversations are really interesting, they run over.
Yeah.
Do you think that hurts viewership or the people associated with your podcast?
I think, it can kind of depend. So when I started this too, I was like, I'm going to do 30-minute episodes because that's my community to work. That's probably a good starting point too. Is what's the podcast you want to listen to? Because again, then you're going to kind of have the goal that and really too. Then you have the freedom of this is what I want to listen to, right? And I lost the question. What was the question again?
The format. If you change the format,
yes. And this is one I'm going to go back. Maybe I'll leave it in so people can see. This would be something I'd go back in and listen to and edit out, right? That little bit right there. The format. So I did 30 minutes initially. And what I would do is I would do part 1, part 2, part 3. So I actually had to go in and cut it at a certain point. I wasn't very strict on the time. I just tried to find a break in the conversation to say, hey, and then I'd record I record the closing of, hey, this is it for now. Stay tuned next week for the next thing, right? I no longer do that. I just now record it. I kind of let it go. I will say the longer ones are harder for people to listen to. I do think, especially in nowadays with so many other podcasts too, if you can get smaller, that's good. But again, like I said, I had there's a podcast called The Nerdist. And so I was like, that's the podcast I love listening to. I want to create that for Exploring Information Security. And what they did, again, was they just started recording. So that's why a lot of times people are like, oh, aren't we recording already? And again, because I had the conversation, I've said this multiple times, that I've had great conversations without it being recorded that I wanted to get recorded. So I started now just having the conversation with people. We might talk about some other stuff before we get into like what the topic is. But so now I do a lot longer of a format. I will say I don't think I have the completion rates, but that's because they were shorter anyways, right? And again, I don't get too caught up in the metrics because again, I'm creating something that I want. People have come up to me and said, hey, I love listening to your show, I love your format, I love the way you do it. And so I haven't, worried about the numbers. Now, if you want to start monetizing the podcast, that's when you really do have to start worrying about numbers. But that's where I'm willing to let the podcast grow. So when I started it, very few people listened to it. It got very popular up until about, I shut it down around 2018 because I kind of just got burned out and was just like, I need a break. And I realized too, after looking back at some of my episodes, like, I took breaks before, but this was more like a 5-year kind of break. But then, I kind of had a change in job, you can call it a midlife crisis or like just a big career change within the field where I kind of went down and then I'm kind of working my way back up. And one of the things I wanted to do was like, well, I've always kind of liked doing the podcast. Let me bring that back. But again, I'm trying to make it even more low effort than it was before. And I think AI has really helped with me with like writing show notes and other stuff because that was the worst part, was doing the podcast and then having to elaborate. So the AI has really helped me with doing a little bit more with the podcast. But format's kind of, again, I think you have to determine what's the podcast you want to listen to. And I will say that like, the attention spans of people have
gone down.
But I'm not necessarily looking. I'm wanting to do more documentary, dig into a topic, and those people are going to be more engaged in listening in. And again, I also realize there are very few people that listen episode to episode. A lot of my listeners are looking to understand what that topic is or dive into a topic a little bit more. So pen testing is a really, really popular one. One of my most popular ones, because it ended up on Reddit, was studying for the OSCP. And that was a 2-part series where a buddy of mine had completed it. And so he talked through the actual thing. So people were grabbing that episode. They weren't listening to anything else on my other episodes, but they were studying for the OSCP because that became very popular. And my podcast was one of those things that they grabbed and listened to. I've had teachers from universities reach out to me and say, hey, I've assigned for cybersecurity. For a cybersecurity degree, I've assigned your podcast for people to listen to on a different topic. Yeah. So that's where I'm not worried about the shorter things. Can I make it shorter? I definitely could market it better. But I also am willing to just let it grow because I've seen it grow and get really high. When I brought it back, I still had subscribers to the channel, which I was shocked by. But it was an eighth of what it used to be. And it's still been slowly growing, but that's, I think, because there's more competition. People don't know it's back.
There are a lot more podcasts now. Like, the market is definitely there. Yeah. And it's going to soon get saturated. So I guess what you said
I think it's already kind of saturated. Yeah. There's a lot there.
And that's why your advice really has value, because just do your own thing, because at the end of the day it's going to stick out as something unique because everybody else is chasing,
they're chasing viewers or and that's what I want. Is I want people that are actually going to stick around and get engaged. And really too, at the end of the day, it's meant to like I said, I'm an educator at heart. If I only had one listener and they were getting stuff from it, I'd be happy. I'm going to continue to do it. Again, there's other side things. I've gotten to network within the industry. I've gotten to know people. A lot of the people I've had on have become friends. I like to try stuff too. So we've had what I call shit show episodes where we come to a conference like this, a group of us get in a room, there's probably some drinks involved, and we just talk about security. And I've had, those are not very popular because people can't get through an hour and a half or don't want to listen to it, or they're just like, these guys are crazy, don't want to listen to it. But I've had other people tell me, like, wow, this is how cybersecurity people talk. And so that has its own insights for some of the people, especially getting newer in the field. And there's always going to be new people getting into the field too. That's why I really like what I'm doing with it as well. And, for the people, because I had to get over this at one point, is why would anybody want to listen to me? But what it is, and like we were talking about, there's a lot of podcasts out there, but you bring your own unique voice to it. And so, like you said, that's why you have to do your own thing. And that's why you shouldn't get discouraged of, well, there's so many other podcasts, I'm going to do it. Find out what you want. And maybe you do need to do a little bit of research. Just someone else doing something like this, right? Something similar. But even still, the unique voice thing, you're going to bring a different take on it. You're going to bring a different aspect to it. And you're going to find that you will have some people listen to it because there's always people looking for new podcasts. And you just never know where you're going to get discovered at.
All right. And where do you launch? Like you mentioned Apple Podcasts. What about Spotify or something?
I definitely. So what I've done in the past, like what I did is, so there's two. I think Apple, because that's probably the top one that people use, right? I have told people, I used to do it all the different ones. There's like, I don't know if it's still around, but there used to be one called Blueberry, and all these different podcast platforms. Yeah, and I you can do Spotify, you can do Amazon, but I often would just wait for someone to go, hey, I'd love to listen to your show, but I need it on Spotify. And it's like, all right, because it's super easy to just get your RSS feed going and then submit it to those platforms, and within a day or two, you're approved and you're on the platform. So I'm on Spotify now. I'm on Amazon. Amazon Music has a podcast now, Music, so I'm on there now. But I think the big place is Apple, and then the other one is YouTube. So I started up my YouTube channel because I wasn't going to do YouTube, but what people don't realize is YouTube is like the third most used search engine. So it's like Google, and then I think it's like Yandex or something, which is like a Russian one, and then it's Google, right, or YouTube. So my podcasts are going up on YouTube, but it's just audio only, right? And that's why I'm playing around with video a little bit, because again, if I want to grow it, I definitely need to be in as many places as possible. But I've always kind of just started those the Apple Podcasts and YouTube, and you'll start seeing some people,
You can do audio only, like podcasts on YouTube?
Yep. So it's the same thing. I just submit an RSS feed to YouTube, and it just grabs the episodes and then puts them on as like a video. So, and then you just have to like set up a logo so my logo is just for the YouTube channel. Oh,
so it shows like the logo and then it'll play the audio on it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, here, let me see if I pull it up real quick. Let's see, let's go to Explore Sec. So yeah, this should probably be a commercial. Explore Sec, the Explore Sec podcast channel. Let's see if I pull up as the first one. That's the other thing too, is you want to search, and so there you go. Well, no, that's the live recording. So it's just the videos, just grab it. So I just how to perform incident response. So I released 2 last week on Wednesday. So you can see it's just a logo and then just the audio in the YouTube.
Oh, okay.
And so people can just have that up while they're, and again, like I said, one person was like, hey, I like listening to your show, but I just listen to stuff on YouTube. And I'm like, fine, I'll throw it up there. Figured out that you could do that there, and that was really cool. And I don't have to do anything. It just grabs from the RSS feed and loads it up. I can go in, and I probably should add descriptions and other stuff, but again, that's the other thing that I think people need to is start small, try stuff, ditch stuff, figure out what your process is, but just realize it just takes time. I've been doing this podcast since I started it in 2015. Yeah,
a decade.
But I was podcasting even before that, so I had experience even before I did a cybersecurity podcast. So I've been doing it for, I guess, 13 years at this, or no, 14 years, because I started the podcast for the baseball in 2011.
Wow, so you really have a lot of experience in this field. So, I mean, that's all I really had.
Cool.
I guess thank you so much for giving me this time, Tim, to go over this with you, especially at ShowMeCon. It just gets extra special. I'm going to remember this first ShowMeCon. I recorded a podcast, so thank you so much.
There you go. And that's what's great too. Is just like you said, because people don't know how this transpired. It's like you were like, I want to do a podcast. Can we do this? And I was like, this would make a great episode, right? And so here we are, right? And you just got to take that first shot.